Hey, I'm not sure if you know about this, but I was a speaker and a trainer for Google for nearly 6 years. In addition to this, I've been a coach through a lot of my career, helping small business owners and entrepreneurs improve their businesses. But now with ADHD, I've learned a lot about helping other wise squirrels like me. Check out the link at wisesquirrels.com/coaching and book a free session with me to see if I can help you. I have a feeling I can. Welcome to Wise Squirrels, the podcast for late diagnosed adults with ADHD. I'm your host, Dave Delaney. Today, I've got a great show lined up, a wonderful discussion with perhaps a familiar voice in the podcasting ADHD world. I'm speaking with none other than Russ Jones, who is an ADHD coach and the host of the popular ADHD Big Brother podcast. Russ and I go deep into living and thriving with ADHD, from personal stories of addiction and recovery to the social side of drinking and the impact of marijuana legalization, the ups and downs of ADHD meds. We also explore creative life paths like acting and sketch comedy and content creation, while talking about what makes podcasting such a wonderful tool for connection and learning. And whether you're navigating ADHD yourself or simply curious about our creative minds, this conversation offers practical insight, candid stories, and plenty of inspiration and a lot of laughs. So I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. A couple of quick things to share. I decided to extend the giveaway for The Mindful Body by Ellen Langer, the mother of mindfulness, as they say. She was on a recent episode, so make sure to check that out over at wisesquirrels.com and enter today. I'll be doing that draw on the next episode, giving away a couple of copies of her excellent book. I've had several people email me recently asking when I'm going to do my Now What webinar again. And so I've set it up on the website again. It's free to sign up and attend. The webinar will be this coming Monday. So the webinar training will be this Monday. It's called Now What? And I'll be covering things like what ADHD really looks like in adults and also why so many people have been missed over the years. I'll talk about the emotional roller coaster after diagnosis, from grief to relief. I'll speak on why ADHD isn't a superpower unless it is, why shame and burnout and masking show up and how to heal from that. I'll share practical strategies to support your brain and your energy and your life. And I'll be speaking more about confidence and self-compassion and why these things are so important. I will also be on live so you can chat me questions as I go. So join me this Monday. It's free. Visit wisesquirrels.com where you can sign up right now. I have limited space for this, so I do encourage you to head over to wisesquirrels.com, sign up now, and I'll see you on Monday. I wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our awesome Substack subscribers, the ones who are paying just the cost of a coffee once a month. A special thanks to you. You help keep this show going, so I appreciate you. I also wanted to give a shout out to Kika JMT in Canada, my home and native land. Kika is the most recent person who was kind enough to leave a recommendation and review over on Apple Podcasts. And she wrote, "How can you be in my head? I love this." What a great headline. She wrote, "The Wise Squirrels podcast is my new ADHD survival guide disguised as entertainment. Dave is basically the squirrel whisperer, turning chaos into clarity while making me laugh so hard I almost forgot I'm multitasking. Always, am I right? Every episode is a mix of aha moments, relatable chaos, and practical tips that actually stick, sometimes between snacks. I've laughed, nodded, and scribbled notes on random sticky notes because focus, right? Whether you're late diagnosed or lifelong confused, the podcast is a 5-star acorn. Do you get it? Of wisdom. I highly recommend. That is the sweetest thing, Kika. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to write this. Folks, when I read these reviews from listeners, when, new listeners become paying Substack members, this is all a sign to me that I'm doing the right thing and that you're finding value in this. And it means the world to me to read these. So, even if you're not a paid member, that's okay. I'm just glad you're here listening now. And Kika, thanks so much for that. And now let's get on with the show.
My name is Russ. I host the ADHD Big Brother podcast. I'm an ADHD coach. I think my big exciting thing is that I run a community for adults with ADHD called ADHD Big Brother. I've been doing that for a few years now. And that's who I am. That's who I am today. I have ADHD. I have depression, other comorbidities.
All the things. Yeah. And tell me about the community. How's that going?
It's going awesome. So we're at like 60 plus members right now. So it still has a bit of intimacy to it, which I do like, but it was really built on the foundation of a quit group that I was a part of. So I was addicted to nicotine for like 20 some years, chewing tobacco, and I would be like chewing and smoking. I always had nicotine in my system. So it was a real MFer to quit. Yeah. And I found support through community. There was an online community. I don't know if you remember like those V bulletin software. It was like,
I do actually.
Yeah.
I had one. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Because my first podcast was a parenting podcast with my wife, and that was back in 20 years ago this year. So back in 2005, and I had a forum I created a forum so that people could connect with one another, because that's always part of the goal of nobody wants to, especially like content creators, if you will, or whatever word we're using these days. But, for people that are built or putting things on the internet, they're not doing it for the purpose of it all falling into a black hole and a void and not knowing, which is part of the reason why podcasters are always begging for reviews and because it's not just that helps others discover the show, which it does, but it's also just to read a review and say, oh my God, like this is working. This is touching people. This is helping people. And so I see that in my Substack subscribers, the paying ones and the free ones, and those who, hire me for coaching as well, or for public speaking. So I'm with you, man. And
validation is awesome. Yeah. It was literally the one day at a time aspect of it. For me, quitting chewing was the really helpful, because we would all come together, say day one, I'm not going to chew. And then we would all chat about how awful life is, right? Because you're going through insane withdrawals. And I put that towards a mentality about ADHD, which is we're so good at knowing what's going on. We live in an information time, right? So everybody that I work with, most people know exactly what's going on. They've read 3 books. They've watched all Jessica McCabe's videos. They know what's happening, but we're still not doing the work. And so I'm like, well, what if we applied this like one day at a time mentality to just doing shit, right? Like your laundry or your, whatever your goal is. And so I created the community around that, and it's working. We have a community member who is over 500 days in a row of doing the thing that she said. That's freaking unheard of for an ADHD. It's crazy.
Well, I find it's interesting too, because at least in my own personal experience, I find as an ADHDer, I'm starting things is not a problem. It's quitting things that's a problem, right? Like it's stopping, at least in my personal experience. So, I mean, I smoked like a chimney, like 2 packs a day for a while. Like I smoked a lot, but I quit about like 25 plus years ago and haven't had a drag since. And, and I had quit for 2 years, some years before that. But then I went camping with friends and was drinking and had a few beers. And I was like, hey, let me get a drag of that cigarette.
One won't hurt.
And my buddy was so annoyed. He's like, here, just take one. And I'm like, no, I just want to drag. He's like, I'm not giving you a drag. Like, if you want to smoke, take one and butt it out if you want. And I was smoking again. So, but I'm also from the generation too. And I mean, I think we're probably around the same age.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I tried quitting smoking so many damn times. And
Yeah.
I even did, a friend's mom did laser therapy and
Really?
successfully quit smoking.
What? Wait. So, what is that?
Yeah. So this is probably, this is like pre-internet, right? So we're talking like probably 1990, 91, something like that. And she had quit smoking and swore by this laser therapy. So it was like days since she did it. And she hadn't craved or had a cigarette at all. And I'm like, wow, okay. And so I pulled up my money, and I think it was expensive, but not, at the time, whatever, I can't remember how much it was, and so I paid. It's a longer story, but the short version is the medium version.
I want to know about the laser. They see you in a chair. They pat your head back.
So it was me going to this, sort of undescript office in a sort of strip mall somewhere. And, okay, whatever. And I go in, and there's like a reception person who's also like a nurse kind of role. And then there's a doctor who wears, who's not a doctor, who wears like a white lab coat. And they have like an old dental chair there.
Oh my God.
And it's either going to be like the Manchurian, or what was it? The Marathon Man scene where, is it safe? Is it safe? If you know, and God, well,
you dated yourself, bro.
Yeah. Hey, that movie still holds up, folks.
Yeah,
but,
it does.
It's a little cringy.
That's
so,
Dustin Hoffman.
Yes, it is. So anyway, so they put me in this chair, and she comes in and like puts this ointment on me around, and then he pulls out this laser and starts lasering these things, which I think was probably like a pen light. I mean, nothing was burning.
One of those cat things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. A dangerous toy for an ADHD, or especially undiagnosed. Sure. So I did it, and at the end, he's like, congratulations. He's like, you are now a non-smoker. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Just like that. And he's like, yep. And excellent. I got like a little paper certificate that said you're a non-smoker and congratulations kind of thing. And I left, and I remember, because I'd taken a bus there. I think I was like maybe 18 or 19 or something. So I take the bus home, and I'm watching people smoking on the street, and I'm like, disgusting. Like, I'm actually like, that is disgusting.
What?
I'm so proud of myself. I know I'm never going to do this again. And then I see like cigarette butts on the ground, while I'm walking, and I'm like, disgusting. And I'm, watching movies back then, and people are smoking. I'm like, nope, never again. This is amazing. And I think about a week later, I started smoking again.
You probably had one, right? Just to prove you could stay quit. I'm going to have a cigarette just to show myself that I'm not addicted anymore.
Right. So I was right back to smoking again. Dude. And then I met up with my friend's mom, who was also smoking again. So the lesson really was like, if somebody refers you to a program or something that works, wait until they're finished the program and give them some time before you actually see if it actually works. Because I mean, she was like me, just a few days after, and she was still on this gung-ho mindset of like, she was convinced that she had quit. So, it's amazing, all these different things to try to quit. And obviously, addiction is addiction. And as an ADHDer, and again, I mean, this is not just years, this is like decades before I was diagnosed with ADHD. So I had no idea what ADD or ADHD was back then.
Yeah.
But addiction is pretty rampant with our people, and not to say everybody's addicted, but we could very well probably more easily become addicted to things than those who are, neurotypical. So,
oh God, yeah,
we gotta be careful.
Numbing aspect too, right? The numbing aspect. We have people in our community who, we're currently we do challenges. So I think that's one of the ways you gamify this stuff. But one of them is a no alcohol challenge, and you really get to know. And I don't know if it's the addictive mentality or the desire to numb all that tension that comes with the paralysis from ADHD. Like, there's so many things that are I desire reprieve from, or I want to escape. And so historically, I would go to nicotine. I would go to marijuana. I would go to like alcohol, just non-moderate. And it's never like what the normies are like. I go out and I have a drink at the end of the night. I'm like, no, if I have a drink, I'm drinking.
Yes.
Like that night I'm drinking. Yeah. So it's just, it's super interesting.
Well, I find a lot of, I mean, I quit. I haven't had a drink in 5 years.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. June was my 5th year. So, and again, I quit before I was diagnosed in 2020 when, the world was imploding and there was all sorts of additional pressures going on in my life. And just decided, to take 30 days off. When I lived in Ireland, we used to call it getting off the piss. So it'd be like, hey, you going out this weekend? Nah, I'm off the piss. Oh, okay.
I'm getting off the piss.
Yeah, I'm off the piss.
That's good.
And so I decided I'm going to get off the piss for 30 days just to take a break because I was drinking too much because of all the stress of everything. And so, and during that time, what happened was I found that we've come a long way in non-alcoholic beer. And I was like, wait. And I remember it was Well-Being was the first Well-Being IPA, the first thing I found at this fancy grocery store. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I mean, and by the way,
it's not O'Doul's, right?
Oh,
I
man,
think O'Doul's was the only choice that we had back in the day.
That was literally the piss. Like, O'Doul's was terrible. And so I realized like, holy crap. Now I should also add that, if somebody listening is an alcoholic, and I certainly had many blackouts and I drank like a fish back in the day as well. I should add that like, this is something like even just to crack a can of something that tastes like a beer that also often has like 0.05%. So it does actually have a touch of alcohol that could be maybe dangerous for somebody who is a severe alcoholic. So I'm not recommending this for those who may be, but for those who are trying to quit or taking a break or just casual drinkers who want to slip in a few non-alcoholics between the real thing, I highly recommend these types of beers or non-beers.
This was a conversation I had with somebody recently, which I find this interesting, right? So the nicotine used to be such a part of my life. There was such nostalgia to it. It was what accompanied all the good things in my life, and it has helped me escape the bad. But so the idea of not doing it anymore is so scary, right? Because like, that means a part of me is dead. That means I don't get to experience the joy. And I had the same thing, a thought about alcohol, even casually, right? Like, but I can go out and people go out to dinners with friends and order water and still have a really good time.
Yeah.
That to me was one of those things of like, I can be that guy. It doesn't represent the only way access to joy or the access to a good time.
Yeah.
So I find that fascinating.
Did you know Wise Squirrels is brought to you by you, my amazing, generous, supportive, brilliant, and beautiful subscribers on Substack? People like Kieran, David, Darren, Chip, Ellen. Ellen's a founding member. You're the best. Memberships are just a few bucks a month, about the cost of a fancy coffee. Now, there's a free newsletter at Substack that you can, of course, subscribe to so you get new episodes and all that good stuff. And the link is right there in your podcast player. All you have to do is scroll down, click the link, sign up for free. And if you like, become a paid member today. If you love what I'm doing, I would love your support. Thanks for listening. And now back to the show. I think there's I think a lot about reflecting on what I know now about my ADHD and also just ADHD in general, of course, but is, and generalizing, of course, because I know it's different for different people, but, I personally am highly, I'm extroverted. I love chatting, telling stories, talking with people. And I think also, with the British Irish heritage, I think also the idea of a pub, and having lived in Ireland and Scotland and London for a while, growing up and going to pubs and my wife and I had our first date in a pub. We met Well, after our first encounter, we met at a pub. We lived in Ireland together, so we would, go to pubs all the time. And the thing with pubs is that they're they stand for publican houses, right? Like or public houses rather, right? So they're places for people to connect. And yeah, if you have a drinking problem, that could be a challenge. However, it was also just the social side. All of my friends did the same thing. We would go out to the pub or bar numerous times a week, and that's where we would hang out. I would go there when I had nothing to do, or I was bored, or I was by myself, and I would either make new friends or I would run into my friends later and we'd meet up there later. So like that was like a constant in my life, and it's something I do miss. I miss that because it's not the same necessarily going to like a coffee shop or going to like a fast food or a restaurant or some sort, or it's not vibe. Like the vibe's not the same. And the other thing about public houses that pubs is the thing I loved about them too, and I love about them still, is anybody can come. They don't have rules besides age limits perhaps, but other than that, anybody can come regardless of your sexuality, gender, political beliefs, religious beliefs, whatever. And I think that's where some of the best things, yes, bar fights do happen, but I think I learned a lot about other people by hanging out at the pub and meeting other people and having a few drinks and then letting our hair down and shooting the shit about, politics or religion. It's funny, like in Ireland, like they always say, like for visitors going to Ireland, like the two things you never talk about in a pub are politics and religion. But of course, after a couple of pints, what are you talking about? Politics and religion, right?
Let me tell you what's pissing me off.
Yeah. So, but I think, and it's interesting now with, like you mentioned, marijuana, because I think now with the legalization of a lot of like weed, for example, with the legalization of weed in civilized states, unlike Tennessee, of course, but in civilized places like Canada as well. I was talking about this with friends when I was back home in Toronto recently, actually. And we were saying, man, like everywhere you go walking down the street now, you smell weed everywhere. And it's kind of annoying. But then we were talking about it, and we were both used to smoke a ton of weed and stuff, but we were talking about it and we were like, yeah, but has there ever been like a fight that's broken out between two people that were high on weed? I mean, because you think about pubs and bars letting out at the end of the night, and sometimes, things happen, but
alcohol brings out the rage in people. And like weed is always like, hey, let's just order pizza and play video games.
Yeah, for me, I was just like a teddy bear drunk. So I was just like, oh, I love everybody. And then I'd be like, sound asleep, that's blacked funny. Out. But that's cool. So, and what's keeping you busy between, coaching and running this group and your podcast? Let's talk about your podcast too. When did you start your podcast?
October 2020.
Okay, awesome.
I was the I don't know, it's not sad story really, but it's right during the pandemic, all our smiles went away and I got really depressed because everybody, we were wearing masks and no one would look at anybody in the eye anymore at the grocery store. And it crushed me. I fell into a dark hole, a deep chasm of despair, shall we say. Yeah. And so I started, I did purpose work where I discovered kind of that my purpose was in some manner of servitude. That lights me up. And so I just started being motivating on Facebook, making videos and talking about things. And I had been diagnosed with ADHD at that point. So I had learned all these strategies and started implementing them and moving the needle forward while depressed and trying to, it was like, this is really fucking hard. And I need to share some stuff and collaborate and do this as a thing. So I started making these videos, but then I was like, I want to do this legit, like in a bigger way, but I don't have it in me to give a shit about how I look and the set. I have an entertainment background. I'm in LA. I was an actor for like over a decade, and the wardrobe and all the things that go into that was too much for me. but I could easily grab a microphone and just ramble on and share what I have to share. So that's how the podcast started. And then
awesome.
Like Adam Savage shouted it out at one point.
Nice.
You know, the Mythbuster guy.
Yeah.
I was like, one day I had just all of a sudden a gabillion. That's not a real number, but like it was like a massive spike, and I was like, "What in the hell's going on right now?"
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
It's been a really rewarding experience.
Yeah.
And I think it took me about a year to get to a point where I was like, okay, no matter what, I'm going to put an episode out every Monday. And so I'm no replays, no nothing like that. I'm just going to put an episode out every single Monday. Sometimes they're guests. And more often than not, it's just me rambling for 15 minutes. I'm really in service of doing the work. Like I don't want to be doing a podcast if nobody's doing the work. If it's just another place for people to learn, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Right. But so I try to put challenges in there and to be like we're all trying to figure out a way to manage our lives, and we're all trying to figure out a way to get on the other end of certain struggles. And I don't know about you, but I find that a lot of us want our brains to switch, and then we'll have the motivation to do a thing. And I don't believe that. I believe so much that we need to find a way to do, and the nudge down the mountain is what it builds the momentum. But
agreed. Yeah.
Agreed. The mindset shifting is really fucking hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we do tend to get stuck, and especially when, I've mentioned it so many times on the show, but ADHDers already know this, right? Like that when novelty kind of wears off on whatever we're doing, then it's like tough to get back at it. It's kind of a curse of ADHD, I think. But I also, I think getting stuck is a big one, and trying to find that momentum, and to keep going. So backing up a little bit. Where are you from originally?
Let's back it up. I'm back up. I'm from Pacific Northwest, right on the border of Canada.
Okay, nice.
Really small town. I'm a small town kid. I moved to LA when I was 19 because I did not know I had ADHD as a kid. So I went from the structure of my parents and get good grades, or you're grounded, plus the fact that small town school is really freaking easy. So I was a straight A student, even though the quality of my work varied from day to day. And even though I would do my homework, but forget to turn it in and lose it. But I went to community college for a year. So I went from structure to no structure. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I kicked ass in the plays. Drama. I was awesome at drama, but everything else sort of like sunk. And I just thought that meant I meant to be an actor. So I worked at my dad's lumber mill, saved up money, and said, sorry, guys, I got to go. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I moved to LA. And it worked. I mean, I joined the Meisner Center. I got a great acting education. I love the art of the acting.
Me too.
The craft, as they call it.
Yeah.
And I did sketch comedy. We talked about this. Improv, right?
Yeah. I trained with Second City in Toronto.
Yeah. And so so I've been in the LA area ever since.
Are you still a working actor too, or what are you doing? Like,
no, but I've done stuff like I'll do stand up sometimes for shits and giggles. I've had friends that, because I know people in the industry, right? So if anybody ever is like, hey, you want to do a thing and help me out real quick? I will. But I'm not auditioning anymore. Driving to Santa Monica at 5 p.m. to say, now that's a pizza. Like those days are done. I'm not doing that anymore. I'd rather help people with ADHD.
So give me the timeline. So you moved to LA when you were 19?
Yeah, turned 20.
So you've been there since, and then
I'm 50. I just turned 50. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Where's my cake?
Yes. The half century mark. I'm 53. So yeah. So you moved to LA to become an actor, and to pursue that, which is commendable. It's awesome. And then when were you diagnosed with ADHD?
40.
40.
Right when
Okay.
I was getting divorced. So I
Okay.
had 2 kids and we were getting divorced, and we were in therapy. We were in couples counseling, and the couples counselor was like, "Have you ever considered you might have ADHD?" And I'm
Mm.
like, "Why aren't we working on the marriage?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
you to." And he's like, "Well, maybe look into that." That's when I discovered it. So about 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting because, well, first of all, like I mean, I know the struggles of acting and art in that it's even as a speaker, because a lot of what I do is keynote speeches and presentations, right? But which it can be really profitable, like acting, but
Mhm.
like acting, it's gig to gig,
It's
and
a
so
hustle,
when
right?
there's not,
Yeah.
yeah, and it gets kind of exhausting sometimes during those quieter periods or there's seasonality to it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to do extra work in Toronto,
Oh, yeah.
always begging for like a speaking, just to say like one
Put me
word.
in, coach.
Wow. Yeah. Because for folks who may not know, like as an extra or background actor, you get paid whatever minimum wage, and you're kind of just, it's a long days of just doing the same thing over and over, much like acting. The difference though is that, yeah, as I said, you get paid crap. But if you at least in Canada, and I'm sure it's probably the same in the States, if you say like a word, then they have to, then now you're in Canada, it's IATSE, I think. So like you join the union, you basically, now you get your card. And now as a working actor, even if you've only said one word, now you're getting paid what you deserve. And now, like, wow, things can really take off from there. I never got that one word. So I've done, my claim to fame is a scene in what's it called? Studio 54 with Mike Myers, Nev Campbell, and Ryan Philippe. Yeah. So the scene is when Ryan Philippe enters the nightclub for the first time, and he's so green and young, and he doesn't know what's what. And he's looking around, and he's standing on the dance floor in awe. And this is, disco times. It's supposed to be in the 70s. And they do this camera pan across the dance floor.
Do we see you?
And you see me like right over his shoulder doing this terrible dance. I have a wig in the scene, and because it's supposed to be the 70s, and I had like a crew cut back then, so I have a wig, but you can definitely see me. And I'll tell you
hilarious. That is awesome.
I'll tell you a very geeky, funny thing here. Where when I lived in Ireland, I was working under the table at a lot of places, and I worked at a video store at night. And and I'm a big movie nerd. I love it. So that works for me perfectly. Yeah. But I'm working at this video store, and these girls had rented Studio 54. So they bring it back to return it. They're looking for another movie to rent. And I queued up my scene on the TVs. And I said, you guys want to, and this is in Galway, Ireland on the West Coast. So, it was like 60,000 people in the town. And so I show them, I said, you guys want to see something cool? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I queued up my scene, and both of their jaws drop like, oh, what the hell? And I'm like feeling all proud and like, check me out. And then one of the girls, without missing a beat, says, what mistakes did you make in your life from going from a Hollywood film to working at the video shop in Galway, Ireland? And I was
it's a long road. It's a long road.
She put everything in perspective in that moment. So,
that is so funny.
Yeah. So, but I was also asking about the ADHD diagnosis.
Yep.
And acting and comedy and stuff, because, rejection sensitive dysphoria, RSD, is a popular thing for ADHDers. And obviously when you're rejected over and over again, and actors have to face that through the auditioning process constantly.
Yeah, that's a really interesting
crushing on you, or
sometimes, so I was pretty successful with commercials. So I did a bunch of work, and I became really confident in the craft. Like the Meisner Center was really good for ripping you open and getting me to a place where it's so funny, like one-on-one in person and in crowds, I get really uncomfortable, and I get very hyper aware of me and like self-loathing thoughts and all that stuff. But when I'm performing, I don't give a shit. I'm having fun, and I don't, it's like I don't care. I had a couple of times doing stand-up where, and I never did stand-up on a high level. I more did sketch comedy and toured that way. But I had one time where I came off of doing a set at the Improv, and I was really good. It was awesome. And it was new material type stuff. And then I went and did an open mic the next day or something, same material, nothing happened. And I imploded. Psychologically, I imploded. I was like, oh, I'm not funny. Oh, I'm a piece of shit. Oh my God. And I don't think I did stand up for like, it took me 4 months before I tried again. It's crazy. But for the most part, performing and doing stuff like that is easier for me than, in terms of rejection sensitivity. I remember like when I worked at UPS for a while, and I remember when I was just getting trained, one of the guys there, I was asking a question because I was getting trained, but he was in the middle of doing something busy. And so I was like, yeah, what about this? And he's like, get with Pam. I'm making the name up, but, and I was like, yeah, but I just need to know, get with Pam. He really I had really frustrated him. And I was like, oh my God, he hates me as a human being. I'm the worst human being in the world. And it probably took me 3 days to do all this CBT, cognitive behavioral. What could he have meant by get with Pam? Maybe you were frustrating him, and maybe that's normal. People can get frustrated. Does he really want you dead? Would he really hire someone to murder you?
Yeah.
You know, so some of those things could still get to me, I guess.
Do you think the acting that you felt more comfortable in roles or auditioning in roles because of the, you think of even traditionally with, when you think of like icons of acting, and I'm talking about like iconography, things like the happy and sad masks. I mean, you're masking. You're wearing a mask as an actor, regardless of whether it's actually a mask, right? You're pretending you're someone else, and you're sort of protected behind that character. In a sense, it's almost like a great actor would do that, right? Because you are falling into. I listened to Smart List,
interesting.
Which is, like so many others, great podcast. And I remember Jason Bateman once talking about that, where like how it was an interesting perspective, especially for somebody who's like a child actor and who's only really acted in his whole or her whole career and life. But he was talking about how as actors, every time you take on a role, like a consistent role, you're sort of abandoning who you are and you're becoming that new person. And he was talking about how like they're, especially seasoned actors who have had long careers of acting, they're sort of just like clay. Like they don't really have much personality in a weird way, or maybe they do, but you know what I mean? Like because they don't know who they are as an individual, because their craft and their work is to become other people.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I don't have that level of experience to speak to that. But in the commercial world, I think every time I went into a room, I was mostly just me. It's how would Russ Jones say these things if this was the circumstance? That's very Meisner, right? Truth and given imaginary circumstances. But it's like you would kind of know you're in there to do a job. You're auditioning for the job, right? So here's my interview piece, let's just say, here, let's do the interview. And then you leave. It's becoming better. I think the skill set was becoming good at throwing it away afterwards and be like, I'm not going to dwell. I think early on I'd be like, yeah, I did an audition. Now I'm going to wait. I hope I hear back. And really it's a numbers game for a lot of us. If your number will come up at some point, and are you ready when that does happen?
That is interesting though, because I think most people have some sort of idea of what an actor's audition, setting would look like. A few people sitting behind a table, and you're standing in the room, some undescript office or something. But I think I've heard a lot, especially as somebody who loves acting and comedy and all that good stuff, and who has maybe hidden aspirations of doing more of that. But I don't think a lot of people realize part of the auditioning process is exactly as you just said. It's what you do after you leave the audition, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
how
yeah.
and how you handle that from a mental health sort of perspective, right? Of just kind of
Yeah.
It is what it is. Or the heartbreaking stories I hear from people, and even some of my own extra work when, you work on something for weeks, you get paid and everything, which is nice, but then you get cut from the end product. So you finally see the film and you bring your friends and
wait a minute,
your whole scene has been removed from the film, or you're just there and you go like,
it was going to be there. It was going to be there. It was going to be there.
Yeah, that was the beginning of it. And then you're cut and it's like, oh.
Yeah. I think Bryan Cranston he said something on one of, I don't know where I'd heard it, but it's like the audition is the performance. That's where you do your performing. And that's you leave it all there.
You leave it all there. Yeah. That's
if you get the job, you get the job. Great. But the performance is at the audition.
I think, and it's anecdotal, of course, but I really do believe, that so many people in the creative business, in the arts, are often ADHDers, often perhaps undiagnosed, or, they don't even know. Do you find that as well?
I would imagine, but really it's just speculative, right? In terms of like, I bet you anything based on your personality and how I'm talking to you, and you know what I mean? Those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think
so. And solopreneur type people.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. There's studies on that one for sure. Rick White, a fantastic Canadian comic, and he was in the Red Green Show, and he did sketch comedy back in the day. He did this show called Four on the Floor, The Frantics, back in like the 80s, and kind of before Kids in the Hall, certainly inspiring Kids in the Hall. Like Dave Foley gave him a shout out when he was winning some big award. And so I had Rick White on, who has a YouTube channel all about his ADHD now, and talks a lot about that topic. He's fantastic. He's been on the podcast. He was great.
Rick White?
Rick White. Yeah. It was funny because when I started the interview with him, I don't know if I included it, but I was like, he was introduced from someone else to me because of my love of comedy and acting and being a Canadian and Canarican now, I guess. He appeared on my screen, and I was like, oh my God, you're that Rick White. Like, I was like, I grew up on him. Like, I mean, he's probably a decade or more older than me. So he was always on TV growing up. Wow. So I was just blown away. But let's talk a little bit about sketch comedy, actually, because I'm curious, like, what was your experiences in that world? And obviously connecting it, keeping in mind that, listeners are often late diagnosed adults with ADHD, but I think comedy and performance, even if you're performing in a job interview or in a prospective client call or something like that, or in the day-to-day, I think there's elements there, but without trying to find a connection.
I already was doing that while you were talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm connecting dots. I'll just say this about, I don't know if you got a specific. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I'll tell you how it connects. First of all, how it connects in my mind is that it's all a matter of practicing a thing. It reminds me of like getting comfortable dancing in my car. Like I really like music, and so I want to get crazy with it, in my car. But I would always feel really insecure that when at stoplights that people are watching. Yeah. And so I just started tapping my thumbs on the wheel and like experiencing the discomfort and seeing that I don't die from it, and then just raising the bar a little bit each time. And now I will full on break out like a madman at a stoplight. Yeah. And you're welcome for the show, everybody. That's the people on the crosswalk that are walking by, like, what in the hell?
Yeah, why not? Right? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
I want to feel joy in the moment.
Well, I always like making people smile and laugh. Like I embarrass my kids every time we go to the grocery store, but that's always my goal is just brighten people's day. Like say something funny that they might be amused by. But sorry, go on.
It's contagious. They'll grab onto it. You'll infect them with your joy. I auditioned for this sketch troupe kind of earlier on, like early 20s, that was coming down from Oregon. And one of the guys that was moving down from Oregon that we did the show with, I got the part, and then I did the sketch comedy show, and I wrote some sketches for it. And the after the show, my buddy and I that I met, who's still my best friend to this day here in LA, we literally walk the Rose Bowl every Sunday.
That's great.
He's still working. He's on shows and he's working great. But we both had the same complaint about sketch comedy, especially when you go to a live event. It's very lights up, lights down. It's very Saturday Night Live. Here's the sketch is over, new sketch. And so we wanted to do a thing kind of like Monty Python was doing, like on their TV shows, like they would transition from one thing to the next, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so our mission, and it was just three of us. We got our buddy Michael in the troupe, and it was just three of us, and we were everything. So there was no blackouts. We were not allowed to do a blackout. So we would do these 45-minute shows that were a series of sketches that then we found transitions. Like that character could be the character in this sketch.
Yes.
And we would start every show covered in clothes that we would peel off quickly, and then we would grab a new wig and then get on. And it was the most high adrenaline, high octane sketch comedy shows that it was super, super fun. And that was a highlight of my existence on this planet.
And for what year was that around?
Oh man, you can't ask me questions like that. How dare you? I was 20s. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a reason why I was asking, actually, because it sounds like Mr. Show. Because
I loved Mr. Show.
I'm a huge Mr. Show fan. I think honestly,
Bob Odenkirk is a genius.
Yeah, I honestly think Mr. Show was. I'm a diehard Kids in the Hall fan and a Toronto guy, so I grew up on Kids in the Hall. I run into them. I saw them taped a couple times. So big time Kids in the Hall fan, and I love Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, same.
But compared, like Mr. Show, I think was probably the best sketch comedy since Monty Python's Flying Circus, with Kids in the Hall being a very close second place as well. But I think a lot of sketch to your point, like a lot of sketch comedy, where it falls flat often is that transition, because they don't know how to end the sketch or the scene. And so you don't quite know. And when you're performing improv, you have the other actors on, backstage who can, do fly by as an eagle and suddenly, strike the scene and save you from a scene that's crashing and burning anyway. Cause with improv, of course, nothing's really written. So there is, strategies there, but as far as like sketch comedy, that's amazing though. That's great. That's that's fantastic. Did one thing with Rick White on the podcast, when I spoke with him about sketch comedy, he was talking about reflecting on his ADHD as a performer and as a, comic and writer. He said he could write sketch comedy so much better than like a movie script or a book, because they're also short and quick. And with ADHD, you're on to the next thing, or you get bored of the project because it's too big. And as I mentioned earlier, the novelty runs off. So for sketch, it's like write a scene, fine tune it, make it great, and then get on to the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one.
That's awesome. Yeah. I got a buddy of mine called me First Draft Jones. Says I don't know if it's my superpower or not, but I could see the sketch in my head and just write it. And this is what it is. So that to me was a pure joy of like, when you talk about flow, you give up time and you just get into, you embody the thing that you're doing. It's very spiritual.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I got from doing sketch comedy.
And what made you, and I just dawned on me, I kept saying Rick White, and I have some sort of color dyslexia. I don't know, but it's Rick Green. I keep saying Rick White.
No way.
Every
I
time
wrote down Rick White, you bastard. Now I'm going to have to rewrite it. Okay.
Oh, Rick White's a great performer in a great Canadian band called Eric's Trip. So you can look him up later. But
I love that.
The reason why I keep saying it's because he was on the show, The Red Green Show. And then there's Tom Green, and there's no relation whatsoever. But so so my head
there's all zippy zappies in your skull spaghetti. There's like
so Rick Green if you're playing from home. Just to be clear on that.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so and as far as like the creative world, if people are aspiring actors or comics or sketch writers or what have you, what advice would you give people, regardless of their neurotype? Like, is it? Oh,
just you do it because for the love of doing it, because it's just an arduous, soul sucking journey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the entertainment industry is pretty soul sucking. I left because I found my purpose went away, and I was like, I was successful with commercials. Like I was doing mini commercials, and you don't need to do a lot to make money. You make great money,
right? They can pay well. Yeah.
Back in the day, the residual structure was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know if I believe in these companies, and yet I'm a puppet. I'll say that's a pizza for anybody. I don't, and the process, nobody really is. It's just really a soul sucking place. So to do it as a career, you have to really, really want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the journey is irrelevant. The journey is a joyful journey because you're performing and you're doing performances anywhere you can all the time.
Yeah. I keep telling people, when I look at my coaching clients and things that, or companies that want to start a podcast, right? And I've done a lot of public speaking and training about podcasting back in the day. I did like a full day workshop on 2-day workshop on, from the idea all the way to getting it in Apple and blah, blah, blah. So I've been podcasting for so long, but I think so many people fail at podcasting, or pod fade, as we would say, because pod fade. Yeah. Yeah. It's like when you do like a daily show and then it's going to be, I'm going to switch to weekly. And then it's like, I'm switching to bi-weekly. Yeah. And then it's like monthly. And then it's like,
I'll get around to it.
Yeah. And then it's just another old podcast collecting dust in the internet.
Yeah. How many times do you see those podcasts and it'll be like, sorry, I've been away. There's so many apologies for coming back late. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. In 20 years of podcasting, obviously I always joke that like, had I known I had ADHD back in 2005, I would have started the ADHD podcast and I would have like Joe Rogan money now. But instead, this is probably Wise Squirrels is probably like my 8th or 9th podcast. So.
Well, that's some good advice to give to people, like people that want to start a podcast. What would you say? Is it the same advice as acting?
I'd say why. I would ask them why. Why do you want to start a podcast? And then why? I wrote a blog post back like Christmas one year, and I called it the 3 Whys, man. Like ask yourself 3 whys, almost like the Simon Sinek thing.
What are they?
But why? Right. For me, why do I do it?
Or like, what are your 3 whys?
That's a good question or questions.
Or do you remember them?
For podcasting, I studied radio and television broadcasting and majored in radio. I've always loved the medium. So, I edit my own show because I enjoy editing waveforms, even though it's a time suck. And I know
no way.
But I edit my own show. So I do it because I love the idea of alternative media this way before it all went weird. And, we could talk about that. But yeah, I love talking with people. I love platforming great people who are smart and not freaks or people that are sharing bad ideas. And yeah, I love talking. Clearly.
I'm like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. At what point do you let the guests speak on your podcast, Dave?
Wow. I'm going to go make some coffee, Dave. Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
No, this is really good because I know that a lot of people will want to know. Like, people that listen to podcasts are probably people that might also want to make a podcast.
Yeah.
My thing is like, I would want to make sure I had something to say. The second I stop having something to say, I'm probably just going to fade away. I'll get podfed, dude. But
but that's the thing. I think you have to have. There's different podcasts. There's different formats of podcasting. If you want to do a podcast as a hobby, as just a place to share what's on your mind, awesome. I've done multiple podcasts like that, and that's great. So go do it. That's a hobby, right?
Yeah.
If you want to do a podcast that's like actually like for a professional reason, there's different facets of that. So like a brand could do a podcast to promote its products and services without shilling and being icky, because then nobody will listen. But or there's like, I have a chapter in my book in New Business Networking about podcasting as a way to network with people, where it's a great way for you to, if you reach out to the CEO of company X, they're not company X, don't reach out to that one.
Company Y.
Yeah, let's say company Y. If you reach out to the CEO of company Y, she's going to be like, no, I don't want to talk to you, or she won't even reply. But if you reach out to her and say, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast to talk about your business. Yeah. Okay. But then the podcast really is a way for you to network, and you're doing it legitimately, and you're trying to promote that conversation. Of course, you're not just, lying. But that's the goal of that podcast, is to network and to, right. And I've done podcasts like that. For Wise Squirrels.
Do you feel like it's a cool opportunity to meet these people, right? I mean, like Ari Tuckman, right? He's on his book tour, right? I got to speak to him. I know you got to speak to him.
Yeah.
That's not a person I would get to speak to normally.
Right.
Right.
You reach out to him and said, can I talk to you?
I'd love to, but I'm busy. He's a sweet guy. He probably would. But the experts that we get to talk to, it's pretty freaking cool.
It's awesome. Yeah. And I think, and that's the whole thing with this podcast, right? And like your podcast too, where with Wise Squirrels, I am trying to remove stigmas. I'm trying to educate people, including myself. I'm learning about ADHD along with my great community, my great listeners. That's what I'm trying to do too. And just learn openly. And that's why I always say, like, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on the internet. I'm not, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning about this stuff. And that's why I started this, as a way to kind of openly share my experiences, like, transparently, authentically, and all the other cliche words that you hear from live.
Look at my posters that say authentically.
Authentically transparent. sounds like a soda. Coca-Cola.
It's
authentically
weird,
transparent. So I mean, and that's the other thing, is I'm painfully honest in my Canadian humble upbringings, but like, honestly, like, I want to help people. I want to remove stigmas, and I'm very thankful to the my Substack subscribers who actually invest money and support the show, and the sponsors who pay to sponsor the show, because that helps justify it, right? And it helps me keep going.
Right on, man.
Yeah. So what are you working on next? What's next for you? What's coming up?
That's awesome. That's an awesome question. That's like the end of an 80s movie, right? So what now? What next? I don't know. Finish college.
All I ask Russ
is married. I guess.
Don't you forget about me.
Yeah.
Smoke up, Johnny.
Like, who are these two old people talking? I live in my community. So like, that's what's next for me. It's how to grow it and iterate it and build on it. And that's really kind of my strong focus. And, like solopreneurs, like we work all the time. So I'm 24 hours a day. That's not true. I sleep. I should hope so. Dave, I went to some laser treatment and now I don't need sleep.
Yeah. Be careful what you fall for.
I know. Anything with the word laser in it. Side note, my brother got that laser eye surgery, and this is why I will probably never do it. Is because he was doing he's like, you never want this to happen. They had his eye open, right? And you're just sitting there, and the laser's on and hears, no, we're good. Like that alone. No, we're good. The fact that something might have gone wrong, I would be silently screaming. I would probably be audibly screaming, no.
Yeah. Did it?
We're good.
Wait, did the doctor say that or did he say that?
The doctor, the guy running the laser. We're good.
And did he finish? And did he?
No, he got the surgery and it's successful. So yeah, great. I will still never do it because of that story. I hope we don't get attacked by the laser eye surgery people to be like, you know what? Your asshole ADHD big brother that came on and falsely accused us.
You know, when I started Wise Squirrels, actually, you just reminded me. I wrote a blog post about laser therapy because, I'm just looking it up. It's called the blog post is called "Does Low Level Laser Therapy Work for ADHD?" A warning about photobiomodulation, because apparently that was something to help. I just was inspired by one of Russ Barkley's videos of just scathing videos about the fake, just how fake this is. So folks can check that out. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe lasers are always something to avoid. Maybe that's the lesson today. Yeah. Unless it's laser Floyd. Dark Side of the Moon is great with the
no, that's a good laser.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, one of the things that I don't know if I mentioned this, but like so I love the medicine for ADHD. It's awesome. It works, but I always have side effects. So I currently don't take medicine for it, but I still need to get shit done and I still need to do things. And so I'll proselytize this all day long, but community is the way to successfully, in my experience, move the needle forward, even though it's impossible to wrap our head around things. We're in the middle of massive distraction. We're in the middle of massive paralysis. Task initiation is non-existent. Leaning on a community, not just for the emotional support, but for like the camaraderie of like a quick group. Like, what are we doing today? Let's do it. Let's do it together.
Yeah. I agree completely. I also recommend, what I did with my doctor was, when I first started taking medication for the ADHD, I had some weird side effects, nothing terrible, but I did have some side effects. And it is a process, right? Like you try one thing and then you adjust the dose to see if you get it to where it's working correctly and there's no side effects. And if that doesn't work, then you rinse and repeat with a different medication and try that. And so it is a process. I did land on something that is working with me combined with my anxiety medication. So because that's as you know, anxiety, depression, fun comorbidities of ADHD.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. So I do, I would urge you to talk to your doctor and see if you could try something different and maybe work on the dose.
Oh God.
And try to, because honestly it is, I think,
I did that for a while.
Part.
I accept that, but I'm not like, when you try a bunch of things, like one gave me anxiety, one gave me depression, one gave me random nosebleeds. It got me out of depression, but I'm like, do I want nosebleeds intermittently, randomly? Yeah. And so then I got trial and error fatigue, where I'm like,
I don't blame you.
Do I want to try it again? I wholeheartedly support medicine, because man, when it works, holy shit. While I was on Adderall, it was brilliant. It worked like a treat.
I wrote a blog post on Wise Squirrels, and I think I might have talked about it on the show before, where I was taking, because the thing with at least stimulants is that you can stop taking them if you need to, and it's fine. Where anxiety and depression meds, obviously you can't just stop, or you really shouldn't.
You got
not without your doctor. Yeah. So, but I mentioned that because my doctor was, I was overwhelmed, just with life or whatever, and she's like, you know what? I never had that aha, that hallelujah when I started taking ADHD meds. I still haven't. That felt like, I can see the light. Everything's great now.
Oh, wow.
I've never had that. And maybe I still need to do trial and error. But what I did find was she was like, why don't you stop taking them for a week and just see how you feel? And so I stopped them for a week under her guidance. And I wrote a blog post about it called like, do ADHD meds work or something? And I use the analogy of treading water, where I felt like when I stopped taking them, that I was like in this great resort, beautiful pool, kind of in the middle, sort of gorgeous place. And I'm just treading water and it feels great and it's relaxing. And that's how I started feeling. And then my arms started getting a little tired treading water. And then suddenly I'm like flailing. And next thing I know, I'm like drowning, just blang, regardless of how beautiful my surroundings were. And that's kind of how I felt. I felt so overwhelmed and so self-aware of just how I was reacting. And I was like, Jesus, like, this is how I normally am. I was like, how is my wife?
This is baseline Dave.
Yeah. Like, how has she not murdered me? So God bless her. So it was an interesting experiment of stopping them and then seeing the results, off them. But anyway, Russ, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. How can people get a hold of you? I know time flies.
I know, right? God. ADHDBigBrother.com. That's my website is ADHDBigBrother.com. You can learn all about the community. You can connect with the podcast. I'm sure if you put ADHD Big Brother in whatever podcast platform you listen to, you shall find me. I will be there. Waiting.
Yes. And I was on it. I loved being on your show. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's fun shooting the shit with you, Dave.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Okay, cool. Well, let's I'll make sure to include everything here in the show notes, and then encourage people to check you out and listen to the show because it's awesome. So thanks, Russ. This has been fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Dave.
Thanks for tuning in to Wise Squirrels. Please make sure you follow the show so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed the show, leave a review, please, and visit wisesquirrels.com/love for bonus content, audio comments that you can leave, membership information, free coaching, sponsorship details, booking information, and much more. Drop by wisesquirrels.com/love. Check out the link in the episode description below and explore now. Thanks again for listening.
Is it safe?
Hey, I'm not sure if you know about this, but I was a speaker and a trainer for Google for nearly 6 years. In addition to this, I've been a coach through a lot of my career, helping small business owners and entrepreneurs improve their businesses. But now with ADHD, I've learned a lot about helping other wise squirrels like me. Check out the link at wisesquirrels.com/coaching and book a free session with me to see if I can help you. I have a feeling I can.